Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, fellow Amazonians. It's a pleasure to having you here with me today, Tuesday, August the 29th, 2023, on another episode of The War Zone. I'm your humble host, Mike Fusi. Now, you will recall I haven't been here for a while. I was out on other duties for the struggle, and that is why I could not appear here as I should have last week. But I'm glad to be with you here today, and I hope you are excited as I am to get into the discussions of today. I have with me, Honorable Sama Thomas, of course. He gives it as it ought to be given. And I also have my no-nonsense brother, Dr. Ngwambe, who will be joining me for today's show. Having said that, I would like, first of all, to extend my greetings to all of our brave ARFs on the ground. Our refugees who are going through very difficult times in ground one, especially, and even the internally displaced who are undergoing very harsh conditions that we some of us cannot even imagine, and we cannot forget those who are locked up for no reason, but for the fact that they want to be free. And for that reason, they are locked up in the various dungeons within La Republic of Cameroon, not forgetting the notorious Kondengi prison, where every civilian is tried under a military tribunal. I don't know why civilians will be tried under a military tribunal for crimes that ought to be tried in a civilian court, considering they are civilians. They have nothing to do with the military. They are not combatants, and but they are locked up. They pick anyone from the street. It's Kondenge. It goes through the military tribunal, and that is what our people have been going through for the longest time. But then that gives us the premise for why we are in this struggle, to get out of this situation. Free ourselves from this colonial domination, economic domination, moral domination, you name it. We are being dominated in every aspect, and we are determined to get out of it. And that is why we are here, to inform you, to educate you, to uplift you and give you, put you in high spirits, to know that as difficult as the road may be, we will get there. We will get there, unmistakably, we will get there. So, fellow Amazonians, don't be deterred, don't be dismayed. Our journey is very much on course, and we will get there. So, I have a few topics that we will be covering today. I have a few topics that we will be covering today, and the first of which is this wave that is blowing throughout the continent of Africa today, where Amazonians have been, or not just Amazonians, but Africans have been so enlightened about the injustices that they have endured for all this time. But we will appreciate one person who took on the bull by the horns and said, someone who went into that Nyongo house and saw how things were being cooked up, how Africans were being chained to slavery, into bondage. And she came out and raised an alarm. She came out and raised an alarm. And since then, others followed suit. But without her coming out and having the courage, and she was penalized when she did that. She was penalized by having her fired from her position. And a stooge was put in place to continue doing what the colonial masters wanted. But she spoke out, and since then, Africans have listened and listened, and the effect is beginning, the reaction is beginning to happen. And that is exactly what I want us to recognize today. I'm talking of no other person but Dr. Ambassador Chihumbura Arikana Chihumbura. She was the one that started raising this alarm. Not that others have not spoken before, had not spoken before, but not in the way she did it. We will give her honor for what she has done to raise the awareness of Africans to the injustices that they've been exposed to. The second topic we will talk about, we will ponder, given these frequent coups d'etats that they call them, that are happening on the African continent today. And we have often frowned against those that engage in coups d'etats. But the question is, are coups d'etats really a bad thing? Are coups d'etats necessarily a bad thing? Is there some silver lining, or is there something positive in the occurrence of coups d'etats? We are going to dig into that and ask ourselves and open and really think deeply if this is such a negative thing as we have tended to view it previously. Are coups d'etats that bad? And again, we are going to look at also the case that Sako fired against your interim government, and the thing blew up in their faces. They took the interim government to court and lost so woefully, performed so abysmally, and the thing just blew up in their faces. So we are going to look at what happened and the ramifications to Sako and his surrogates. Now, and of course, last but not the least, we are going to talk about our Independence Day, the celebration of our Independence Day. We want to make a difference this year. Previously, we have tended to allow it to ground zero to do it, but that can no longer be the case. It is now time for the diaspora to step in there and say, no, we cannot continue to expose our brothers and sisters on ground zero to do it for us. We out here must step out and be proud of who we are and claim it. You have seen what is happening all throughout the African continent. We cannot just sit back and expect that some benevolent spirits will come down from heaven and do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. We have to do it for ourselves. Therefore, we must come out and celebrate our independence. So those are the topics. We will go into maybe talk about a few other things here and there, but these are the four main topics that I would like for us to cover. So I know we started a little bit late. There were some technical hitches which we tried to smooth out before starting the show. I will not hesitate to bring in my guest. I believe Honorable Samatama should be locked in. Dr. Gwambe should be locked in. If you are, gentlemen, I would like to see you so that we kick this ball rolling. Dr. Gwambe, are you there? Yeah, I can see Honorable Samatama. I don't know if Dr. Gwambe is in. Okay, he's in. He's in.
Did you want us to say a word of greetings to the public, or?
Absolutely, it's always good to greet our audience and know that you give them reverence.
Well, my fellow Ambazonians, we are back with you again. And honestly, we never really go anywhere, because even though you don't see us on the screen, we are behind the scenes trying to do what needs to be done. So I want to greet you all, my brothers and sisters, my mama, papa, auntie them, uncle them back home. To our liberation fighters, we're grateful to you. We thank you for the service that you are doing with distinction and honor. And to my fellow co-panelists, Dan Mike and my brother, Gia Sama Thomas. I look forward to talking to you all today, and I look forward to us sharing our perspectives with the Ambazonian people. Let's get this show on the road.
That's the way to do it, Dr. Mwambe. We're ready to go. Honorable Sama Thomas, over to you.
Ta Fusi, Bota, Ngwambe, Mawanta Tawu.
You did that.
Catch him.
Anyway, I'll be happy for here today with Dr. Ngwambe and my fellow comrade Mike Fusi for double over which will be double for educate our people or for people for educate we on which will fit do exactly. And I also throw a salute for where people when they back home where the creep, I don't know the creep or the crawl 24 hours round under where bullets in 5 in their head. I talk say make God a continue for protect when away the bullet never yet sue for side with day. For those in the hospital, when a bullet send them for day, I say Asha. For those who don't go, I talk say make God if forgive whatever when I be done committed like a sin, it take one for internal kingdom for heaven.
All right, thank you, Komisama Thomas. Let's get this thing rolling. You all are aware of the activism of Dr. Ambassador Arikana Chihumbura. I thought about what is happening throughout the continent of Africa today, and I thought about what this lady has done within the past few years. And we can see the fruits of her work coming to fruition now. We can see her hard work bearing fruits, and she's not alone. We cannot forget Dr. Lumumba. Professor Lumumba, who is also out there, another strong voice on the African continent, and raising the concerns, at least kicking some dust in the eyes of those who have persecuted us for so long. But Dr. Arikana, just to recap who she is, was a former African Union ambassador, I think, to the United States, if I'm not mistaken. And she went in there and she saw all the deals that were being struck. She saw all the bad contracts that were written, placing the African continent at a great disadvantage of competing with the rest of the world. And she saw all these things and she was outraged, being that she was already on the inside, knowing who was doing what. And she put her crosshairs on the face of France, that France at this point in time is the greatest perpetrator of extortion, of thievery on the African continent. And she raised the alarm. And she has been raising that alarm continuously, persistently, talking to whoever is willing to listen. And for what she did, France made sure she was penalized. And that is what France does, of course. France always does this. When you try to talk against them, they come after you, they kill you, they get you ousted from power. They do whatever it is necessary to silence you. And that is what they tried to do with Dr. Arikana. But she did not back down. She refused to back down. And I would like for us just to listen to one of her recent statements. I think we have that video. If the studio has that video, she has been leading a lot of initiatives towards the upliftment of the African continent. And I just wanted I wanted us to give her the honor that she deserves. If we have that video of her speaking recently about
give the world an overdose of our truth and insist on it. As we speak today, I'm going to take you back centuries before the children of Africa were taken out of Africa as slaves. There was some serious resistance when the occupiers from the West came to Africa, contrary to what some might think. They didn't just give up their children, but the fighting began long before slavery. And the resistance was those who led them, the majority of them, their heads, as we speak today, are sitting in jars in Europe. Are you aware of that? our leaders, our ancestors who fought the wars of resistance, their heads, their remains are sitting in jars throughout Europe. And the same people have the audacity to come to Africa and talk to us about human rights. But what's even more disturbing is that we entertain them and we don't remind them of these skeletons in their closet. As we speak today, the priceless artifacts that they stole from all over Africa are sitting in their museums throughout Europe. And when you and I, when we visit Europe, we pay to see what belongs to us. Evidence of theft, evidence of murder on display in plain sight.
Okay, you heard it for yourself. You heard it for yourselves. That was Dr. Arikana Chihumbura doing what she knows how to do best. Pointing, robbing the mess that has been created by the West on their own very faces, making them smell their own poop, if I should call it that. That is what she does best, and that is what has taken Africa to where it is now, where there's an uprising. There's a reawakening on the African continent. Dr. Ngwambe, before I say anything further, I would like you to give your own appraisal of what Dr. Arikana has done this far and what the rest of us must do to give her support. What can you say?
So, you know, Dr. Arikana is, we can all consider her as our modern day Winnie Mandela. Someone who is fighting for the freedom of her people, right? That's the kind of esteem that she has invoked for herself. And that is the kind of pride that we have for her. I mean, she is truly our Mama Africa, and we are very, very proud of her. We are proud of the not only talking the talk, but walking the walk, because you know, with our African misleaders, let me call them that. With our African misleaders, they, for some strange reason, think that when they are no longer in a position of authority or power, that means their life has ended and they cannot go on to do other things. But look at what our Big Mama did. Look at what Dr. Arikana did when she was removed from the African as the ambassador from the U.S. To the African Union head. When she was removed from that organization, what did she do? She dusted herself off and she went to work for Africa. Mm-hmm. Right? She did not try to do a coup d'etat or any of that funny business that we see some of these African leaders do, you know, or try to gum in the chair. She realized that, hey, I still have things that I can do for the beloved continent. And she went to work doing those things. And she continues to speak in support of Africa, and she continues to work with other organizations that are trying to do better for Africa. So for me, right, and for all Africans, she is the embodiment of good leadership, the embodiment of someone who's an upright woman, and she's setting the standard of what we all can do, not even just the misleaders, but what we all can do, irrespective of whether we are in a position of authority over a country or not. I mean, there are other things that we can do to help advance African peoples, not only on the continent, but in the diaspora. We know we have African people all over the world, in our brothers and sisters who are taken to Brazil, the Colombias, the Cubas, those who are in the Americas, in the Caribbean. You know, there's many things that we can do to bring all of us together and show the world that, you know, we are the great people that we know we are. And, you know, we really want to thank Dr. Arikana for everything that she's doing to continue to enlighten us and to motivate us, and the work she's also putting in. God bless that woman.
Thank you, Dr. Ngwembe. I think you raised a very important point there, that when she was terminated from her job for doing exactly what she is doing, those who did that thought that they had silenced her. Big mistake, because she has done a lot more out of office than she did when she was actually ambassador. That is what they failed to understand, that by terminating her, they freed her to do whatever she wanted. And that is exactly what she has done. She has continued to work. I think she's trying to build a certain African utopia. How do you call this again? Somewhere in West Africa or something. A village that would be worthy of one of these estate developments that you have anywhere else in the world. She's pioneering that. And let's just take a look at some of the things she said in her last audio, the audio that we just played. That the very people who are preaching to us about human rights today have the heads of our ancestors who dared to resist them when they came in to exploit us. They have their heads sitting in jars in Europe. Their heads are sitting in jars, even as we speak, in Europe. The heads of those who stood up and resisted the colonial exploitation of the West. The heads of those, our martyrs, our ancestors, are sitting in jars in Europe. What again did she say? The artifacts that we had, which were condemned with the pretext that religion does not allow them. Meanwhile, they preserve their own artifacts. These artifacts were collected and they are in their museums making billions of dollars every year. But yet they stole these things from Africa and told us that these things were bad, that you cannot be a Christian and have these things. But they did not throw them away. They collected them, took them, and these artifacts are making money for them in their museums. And even us, our own people, Africans, go there to pay money for what is rightfully yours, to see what is yours. I mean, if that is not adding salt to injury, then I don't know what it is. You go to pay to see what was stolen from you. That's what's happening. And one other thing, again, I want us to remember is that most of the gold that you find in gold reserves around the world either comes from Africa or some of it comes from India. But there are no gold reserves anywhere on the African continent that I know of. Maybe South Africa may have a little bit. But most, Ghana was known as the Gold Coast. That was the name given to Ghana, the Gold Coast. There are no gold reserves in Ghana. There are gold reserves in the UK. There are gold reserves in France and everywhere else, but not on the African continent. And yet the gold came from our soil. That's just to name a few of those things. Mr. Thomas, I want to give your own appraisal of what this great lady has done and continues to do. And the fact that she has successfully brought consciousness into the minds of our African brothers and sisters to the reality of what they have lived up to now. What do you have to say?
Comrade Mike, the only thing I can say is that the guys in Africa who call themselves leaders, it seems they are deaf and dumb. For had it been these guys have ears to hear and were really using those ears to hear, I think they could have all died of shame. For the song that this lady has been singing when he was the African ambassador to the United Nations or the AU ambassador to the United Nations, had it been these people have ears to hear, Africa could have been a different place today. Had it been these people were not our misleaders, as Professor Lumumba called them, we couldn't have been what we are today. But unfortunately, Professor Lumumba said, the fellow seated there with power got no ideas. Why I see you sitting there with no power, you are babbling with ideas. I can see you babbling with ideas in your head, but you have no power. So also have the ideas to grow Africa, like
no power.
Gaddafi was, will have no power, but the fellow with no ideas have the power, so we cannot change. And shame cannot kill us. For had it been, we were ashamed of our deeds, then we could have long listened to these people and free ourselves. But it seems there's something happening in Africa. This lady is speaking in English. Instead for English to pick up from what this lady is saying and Professor Lumumba, French Equatorial Africans have picked it up and are doing something. And do you know what is happening? The people who are against these people who have stood up for their independence are English-speaking Africans. Can you see the irony involved in the whole thing?
Yes.
People who speak English are those that are saying, no, you must not have independence. Continue being terrorized by the French. You talk about gold, that would not have gold reserve. What can an African head of state explain, or an African explain, that you have gold, which is worth more than money? Somebody printed paper, come collect your gold, you take the paper, a few minutes after you are running back to where that paper came from to give him back. Are we not mad? Do Africans think? How can you have gold and you give to somebody to collect papers from him? Instead of equating that your gold to something worth it that will remain as that same gold in your society, you collect a piece of paper and you give your gold to him. Africans do not know that for the over 500 or 600 years that the West have been terrorizing Africa, we've never made a business deal with the West. Everything that the West has taken out of Africa, even till now that we are talking, they are taking it for free. Yes, they are taking it for free. They will come with this their piece of paper, calling it dollar or euro. They give it to you. You give them your raw materials and gold, and they will take back that paper. Or if you stay with that paper, after some years, it will be worthless. It got nothing again to add into your economy. So all along, we've been dashing them our raw materials and gold. We haven't been exchanging it for anything valuable. We need to think and exchange our raw materials for something valuable and not paper.
Thank you, Officer Thomas. You know, as you mentioned there, these people who call themselves leaders, how can you expect them to do anything different? How can you expect them to do anything different? Because they are put there by the very people who have been exploiting us and taking from us for free. I call them plantation managers. They are plantation managers. They are not leaders. We don't have leaders. There are very few of them. These are plantation managers. They are just looking over the plantation for their master who put them in place. So how do you stand up now to challenge your master? That is the thing. You see, the thing is, why I decided to shine a light on the activism of this lady is just to point out the difference that one person can make. The difference that one person can make. Because most of the times, even in our struggle here, we say, oh, there's not a crowd. We should have a crowd before doing something. If you have a good idea and you have the conviction that the idea you have is the right one, go ahead and try to implement it. It is from your example that you see others trying to copy. This woman has done a lot by raising the awareness of Africans to what they have endured for this long. And we can see that this work, the work she has done, is beginning to bear fruit. It is beginning to bear fruit. So I would like for us to raise that point and move on to our next topic, which is that of these coups that We have often regarded coup d'etats as such a terrible thing. We frown at those who engage in such methods of grabbing power. But the question is, are coup d'etats necessarily a bad thing? Are coup d'etats necessarily a bad thing? I would say no. I would say not necessarily. There are, however, things that have to be considered when it comes to a coup d'etat. And before we even get there, we have to ask ourselves, why do people engage in coup d'etats? Where does this always happen? And we will come to realize that I know some happen because people just want to grab power. But there are times when people have no other choice but to engage in a coup d'etat. For example, when you take a place like La République du Cameroon, where a sick, old, and tired person whose leadership has been abysmal has been in place for 40 years and counting. 40 years and counting. He can barely walk. He is mentally confused. And that person is sitting there, and you see your country going down the drain. And talk about going down the drain. I was just watching a video today where a young man was arrested in La République du Cameroon for sitting, I think, in a drinking bar and criticizing Paul Biya. He was whisked away, and now he's sitting in jail, I think in Douala or something. Are coups necessarily a bad thing? I say no. Because it all depends on how the coup, those who stage the coup, use the power that they have. It all depends on how the power that is gotten through the coup is used. I don't want to put my fingerprints on your own understanding of it, Dr. Kwame. Let me come back to you. When you look at what is happening in Niger, what is happening in Ivory Coast, and what is happening in, I think, Benin, or Mali, I should say. When you look at these things that are happening here, and you look at the caliber of persons that are coming to power, can you say these things are negative, given the ideas that these schools, those who are involved in staging these schools are bringing forth, and the explanations that they are giving for the reason they had to carry out these schools? When you look at the reasons they are giving, the arguments they are putting forth, their push against injustice, can you necessarily call these schools a bad thing, Dr. Wambe?
So, Mike, that, you know, this question is, it can be a tough one, but at the same time, if you are someone who has principles, right, and you understand what it takes to have accountable governance, what you will say is that as much as you do not like coup d'etats, but you understand that they are part of the process towards getting towards moving towards accountable governance, if the people who are carrying out those coups, if that's really what they're after achieving for their country. And a coup d'etat, if you really want to look at it, for me, because I was just sitting here meditating on it as you were talking, a coup d'etat is another word, or maybe it should be a subcategory of a revolution. Let me put it like that, because coming out, depending on what you do with that coup d'etat, right, you can end up with a better system. For example, if our brothers in Mali, they recognize that, hey, they got stuck with the president who was entrenching and continuing with Francafrique. And they're wondering, man, what do we do if we end up in a situation where we have to sit through 4 or 5 years of a term of office for a president who is going to continue with policies that continue to impoverish our people? If they have a serious conversation about that, a consultation similar to the consultation that we Ambazonians had this weekend that you chaired, Mike, with some of our other brothers, if you sit down and you bring people together to have a consultation in Niger and say, hey, let's look at our history and analyze the things in our history that have went wrong and offer solutions, not just complain, offer solutions, what will you say? You will say, well, instead of us having a system where the president can be in the office for 4 or 5 years serving his term limits, but eating mess, may we put an opportunity for a recall vote to take place? And what will be the requirements for that recall vote to hold a snap election for that president? You say maybe 1 million citizens have to sign a petition requesting a recall of that president. Maybe you even include that the opportunity for a no confidence vote at the level of the parliament for that particular president. You start to think about, how do you decentralize powers into the states, regions, or provinces of your country, so that even if a president is messing up at the federal level, you all at the local level, you all have some checks and balances that you can do to kind of keep that president's errors from affecting the population of your regions, provinces, or states, or counties, because you know that's what we call ours, counties or LGAs. Those are the types of things you do. You look at how to solve the problems that have happened in the past to make a better future for yourself. But if you go into that situation with the coup d'etat and then you continue with the same mentality as that civilian rule, where you think your ideas are the best, you think you're infallible, you think that the military is, because the military has the power of the gun, they can enforce everything on everyone. Hey, guess what? Sometimes you all in the military, you all make mistakes. You all make bad decisions. And maybe sometimes you all in the military, you all will select a person as a military leader who also becomes corrupt. I mean, if you look at what's going on in North Sudan, these two guys who overthrew the civilian leadership there. One was the leader of the military of the country, and the other one was the leader of the paramilitary group that the former president had put together. But guess what these two guys were doing? As military people, they were amassing wealth from the natural resources of South Sudan and putting it in their pockets. Those are military men who are doing that, who are impoverishing their country. And now they've taken over the country in a coup d'etat, and they're fighting against each other. You understand now? So it depends on what is the goal of those who go into that coup d'etat. You need to go into that thing with the mindset that, hey, we human beings were not perfect. And sometimes when we're put into situations where even we were of good character, we were high integrity, we were known to be people who don't steal, et cetera, but all of a sudden you get this absolute power and you have a whole bunch of ass kissers around you telling you you're the best thing since sliced bread. Not only you, Fitek, we for go boya, you know, Mr. President, we thank you for everything that you're doing. We thank you for the air we're even breathing, all that nonsense. And all of a sudden, all that stuff starts going to your head. And when it goes to your head and you have not put in mechanisms or institutions that can peacefully remove that leader, you are going to have a problem.
Absolutely. You are very right, Director Tumambe. That's what I said. The coups, I asked the question, are coups necessarily a bad thing? Because there are conditions attached to it. There are conditions. How that power is used is very much important. It's not enough just to go out there and grab power, but what are you doing with the power, or what do you intend to do with the power? And at some point, it is always good to put structures in place, like you rightly said. Power corrupts. And when you have that much power, everywhere you go now, people bow down to you. You start to think that you are a god. And if you don't have that self-regulating mechanism within yourself to control your own emotions, and we're going to Honorable Samba Thomas next, and to get his opinion on his take on these coups that are being staged. What do you think? What's your opinion about those who are grabbing to power? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it somewhere in the middle? What's your take on it? I think your audio is
like Hitler once.
Okay, you are good now.
No, I think okay. Like Hitler once said, nobody is an advocate for war, but if it comes, what do you do? Some African countries have been forced to engage in the coup d'etats because of the type of people that claim to be popular, to be elected head of states, who could not serve the country the way it was expected of them to serve the country, and they forced the guys in uniform to now overthrow them. Let us look at the guy like Thomas Sankara. He came to power through a coup d'etat. But there is no leader in Burkina Faso, unless that is to be born, that you will talk about him in Burkina Faso that is more than Thomas Sankara. What we call Ghana today, after Nkrumah, the only person who can talk again in Ghana is J.J. Rawlings. He came to power through a coup d'etat. If you go to which other country again, Gaddafi. Gaddafi was the best leader in Africa. He came to power through a coup d'etat. It is what you use that coup to do with, how you impact the people, that makes that coup a good coup d'etat. But if you are a useless person like Abacha of Nigeria, why should we condemn coup d'etats? The guy who is sitting there in Yaoundé calling himself Mr. Paul Biya, he came to power through a coup d'etat. It was a peaceful coup d'etat. But is he a good leader? Where he took over La République from Babatunde Babatunde Ahito, who also came to power through a coup d'etat. Yaoundé and La République is worse off than any other French African speaking country. Do you know that if you go to Chad, you have roads in Chad that are more than those in La République Cameroon? But La République is richer in natural resources than Chad. So what is, had it been the guys in La République were conscious enough, they could have conducted a coup d'etat in La République 30 years behind. Paul Biya couldn't have made 5 years as a president. They could have overthrown him. For some of us have been praying that that guy should be overthrown and his head cut off. But unfortunately, all those guys like that, they are all cowards or scouts. They are not men in uniform that you can describe them to be. All they know is to be sent to Bamenda to come and be killing unarmed civilians. That's how you know they are forces. But beside that, they are not soldiers. What am I saying? Coups are not good. But there comes a time that it is but necessary. It's a necessary evil that must be carried out to correct a certain situation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. And I wanted to. This is the question I asked was provocative, just to provoke some kind of critical thought and as to whether this thing. By me asking this question is not because I unconditionally endorse coup d'etats. Far from it. But just like violence, we hate violence, right? We all hate violence.
Yeah.
But there comes a time when someone is stepping on your toe and you are telling that person, please, I'm feeling pains. You are stepping on my toes. Can you lift your foot a little bit? And the person is just looking at you like, you're stupid. And you continue to feel this pain. And the only thing you have to do now is to shove that person away using violence. Something you may not have wanted to do, but that was the only way you had to make sure that you get some relief. So coup d'etats are just like that. People engage in coup d'etats sometimes not because they want to, but because they find it as the only outlet. I'm talking about coup d'etats first of all. When we talk about coup d'etats, we only imagine a military going out. There are civilian governments out there carrying out coup d'etats. When you are a leader and you have been elected into office and you serve your term of office, 1, 2 terms, whatever the number of terms are, and it is time for you to step aside and you say, oh, by the way, I really don't feel like living. I'm going to change the constitution so I can stay in power again. That is a coup. We just plotted a coup. It's not a military coup. It's a constitutional coup. It's no different. And though people say, oh, that is a bloodless coup. No, it is not necessarily a bloodless coup, because those who raise their voices against you are put in jail or even killed. Yeah. So when we talk about coups, let's not only think about the military coups. civilian coups or bloodless coups, if you want to call it that, happen. Constitutional coups happen more often than even these military coups. The only thing that has kept Probia in power is because he kept engaging in these coup d'etats and staying in power beyond his term of office. When you look at the people, what's happening in Gabon, we look at Ivory Coast recently, Equatorial Guinea. Look at what just happened in Chad. Was that not a coup? The father of this guy was killed and Macron rushed in and put him in place. Was that guy chosen by the Chadians? Is that not a coup?
Togo and Benin. Yep.
Look at even what happened in next door Nigeria. This guy was there. He's not supposed to be a president. That's a coup. A constitutional coup or electoral coup, whatever, however you want to call it. He stole an election in broad daylight, using a flashlight to show people that I'm stealing an election. And he is sitting there having the audacity to criticize others that they have taken.
For committing the same crime he committed.
You just committed the same crime. So that is what I want us to talk about. I don't know if Dr. Mwambe, you have anything more to say on this before we move on. But
yeah, the last thing that I'll add is this, right? And I'm not going to. It is not that I'm condoning President Tinubu's behavior in Nigeria if it is found out that he really, stole that election. But what I will say is that at least for our brothers in Nigeria, to their credit, President Tinubu is only going to be there for an allotted amount of time. They'll conduct their election and they'll change leadership.
That is correct. That is correct. You are very right there. Yes.
Yep. And they have a decentralized federated system. Nigeria is a federation, meaning that the local states have powers that they can do and things that they can do that can minimize the possible ineptness of President Tinubu. You understand now? So, this thing, what's that? It's complicated. But that's life now. Life is complicated.
Yes, it is. It is.
It really is.
It is complicated. But yes, and one other thing about this thing is, I hope that our brothers in Mali, Burkina Faso, at some point, they need to allow the people to still make the choice. No matter how much you are loved, it is still good to get the endorsement from the people through the electoral process. Let the people, if he wants to remain president, he should take off the uniform and run as a civilian. I think that has been done before. And let the process be open. Let it be open. And same goes for the others. In Niger, they should do the same. If you are confident that the people love you and they love what you are doing, you will not be afraid to do that. Let the people give you the endorsement, and then you can rule with confidence. I think that is the right thing to do. Because after
let me say something there, Let me say something there.
Yes.
If they want to do that, then you who is sitting in there like Mr. President, you must first of all resign as Mr. President. You stay out, you resign as Mr. President and also resign as a member of the military and stay out for at least 1 or 2 years before contesting the position of the presidency. If you do not do that, then it is not an election, it's a rigged election, but to be there like the guys.
Because you have all the advantages of the incumbent.
Yes.
And you know, Tom, like, and just to add on to this, I guess the final thing, the interesting thing about this is that in ECOWAS, President Tinubu, he would have been more credible, right, if he was taking along other democracies with him to go and resolve that issue, meaning he would have taken our brothers in Ghana, he would have gone to Kenya, he would have gone to Tanzania, he would have gone to Botswana, he would go to South Africa, and he would go to countries like that are real democracies on the continent, and said to his brothers in Niger, my people, them, I beg, may we help with this transition to civilian rule so you all have a viable democracy. Don't go and take dictators with you.
Not only dictators, but he was showing clearly that he was listening to France. And he was taking orders from France. Yeah, that is the really sad thing about it.
And Alassane Ouattara, somebody who committed a constitutional coup d'etat, and you are going with him to go and condemn a coup d'etat in another country. If ECOWAS was even conscious enough, they could have long removed Ivory Coast from ECOWAS or turned his own chair, for that guy is not supposed to be part of ECOWAS any longer. Alassane Ouattara.
And you can now understand. You can understand the outrage. That is why you get this outrage from the whole of the African continent. That look at the caliber of people you are taking along with you to go and challenge somebody. Look at the caliber of people. They're all criminals. And you want to go and tell somebody else not to do this when you yourself are very much guilty of the same. So they have no credibility, and that is why they have been compelled now to start licking their own boots and putting their tails in between their legs where they rightly belong. Because they have realized that they don't have the backing. Even in Nigeria, Tinubu has been threatened that if you try to attack these people, the northern part of Nigeria will join Niger to fight against your military. And that is why he is forced now to back down. And that has made him much weaker than when this thing happened. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. The next thing I would like for us to talk about is, of course, within the past week, you all got the news which we have waited and waited for so long. A case which was filed by Sako and his Bitcoin gang against this interim government for money that was held in the account of the Ambazania Foundation at the time that Sako was voted out of office. Or rather, he was impeached and removed. So they were claiming that the money belongs to them. Of notice is the fact that Sako is no longer in power. He was removed by the same Restoration Council that swore him in. So this case went to court, and the verdict was handed down in favor of this interim government and against Sako and his surrogates, despite the fact that they are the ones that filed the lawsuit. So during the course of this week, we have seen them, since that verdict was announced, we have seen them come out and to spread all kinds of conspiracies. Oh, the case is not yet concluded. The case is still very much on. There's no verdict yet, so these people cannot go celebrating. But the funniest thing, the very funny thing is that they have failed to come out and explain exactly what happened. And knowing who they are, if the case were actually in their favor, or if they had any iota of hope that things can change, they would have been speaking a completely different language. And before we go on with the discussion, I would like for us to take a look at a picture of the delegation that was sent by Sako to represent them in court. After the verdict, I want you to see what they look like. You can tell the misery on their faces. You can see the consternation. You could see the shock and the low morale. They looked more like people coming from a crowd than people coming from a court session, because things did not go the way they wanted. And I feel sorry for those who actually went to court to represent Sako, because I believe that those who had some knowledge of how the legal system works, those within the Sako team who knew how the legal system works, were already in the know of what was going to happen. But they pushed these innocent people, these people who were clueless about what they were walking into, and from the testimonies that were given in court, they did not understand what they were talking about. They had no grasp of the facts. They did not even know what institutions were there to guide the Ambazonian foundations. They didn't know of the existence of any bylaws, and they completely made a fool of themselves in court. And I don't know, do we have that image of, I think it's Victorine, it's Yami or somebody, and I think Dr. Tata, after the court session, they looked completely disheveled, confused, downcast, and they were just trying to hide their faces, but there was no way for them to hide their faces. Honorable Sama Thomas, let me start with you first. Given everything that has come from Sako and his people after this verdict, and the reality of what actually happened, which is clear, we are talking about the American judicial system here, where things are open and clear. You can request the judgment and have it. Once it is published, you can request it and you have it. So, and they are still trying desperately to say, oh, nothing happened. Knowing that people, in a few days or at least a week or so, people will be able to have access to these records. Because these judgments are public records. They are not classified. And people will have access to them. What are they thinking when they are making all these false claims? When people actually are able to get copies of this judgment to see for themselves what happened? Honorable Sama Thomas. Is he there? If not, Dr. Ngwambe, you can come
in. Yeah, well, since Yasama is not able to talk, you know.
Okay, I don't know what happened to him, but.
Yeah, but that Mike, the thing where they for the whole matter that say that way I look that picture there though. Look here. Almost about your microphone. I don't know if.
Try again. Thomas, try again. Let's see.
You cannot hear me.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. I wonder what was the problem. Anyway, have you ever heard a thief? Have you ever caught a thief that you are a thief and they say, yes, I'm a thief? No. What he will tell you is, them talks me a thief. Though the stolen property there for a hand. You know the drink saying that he said a thief, man, he took the talk say a thief. So now, make me go now back for Sako. The intention behind Sako for take go down for court, it will be a very good intention. The intention Sako get for a mind for take we go for court and say every other person where you name me different list, where Sako list and say me they will go to court, they will put them for prison.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, for the also. Now say we don't see which way they happen. The Sako intention say some people will go straight for prison. Now, me I tell Sako them so before I come back. They will take we go to the court for Ambassador Foundation, and with the intention for send we for prison. We never get intention for taking go to the court for anything, but the force will go for court. We don't go for that court. We win them for the court, for the case that they carry, we go to the court. We still play down their intention. But if Sako they go push over, heads go roll, because some people too, they must go for prison. Because nobody only we get that attitude for be sympathetic for some people them. If man not get mercy for you, he not get sympathy for you, not show you sympathy if you get the means for deal with you the same way where everyone deal with you. So make Sako gang to be very, very careful the way they go ahead with things, because they will make it will reach a point we will turn back, we will say no, we'll tell the court say no. This problem will be more than which way Sako can bring up a court. So make we go to the details of the whole problem for carry Sako and go to prison. One, now say Sako, we will charge Sako for you saw Ambassador Foundation and the illegally practice for Southern Cameroonians on your behalf, where you not supposed to, and in the money Sako, you don't raise them since they be removed it like Mr. President. Every property of the struggle will it be in their keeping like ABC, make the return them, because if that moment for return this property reach, they not leave them. Now for day way heads go rule. Sako, but it's a fruit John so, but it's a Mbesa. Dr. Tata, we because she over that place here victory young me. I bring one nation or chamber. Make these people good say all these people of America. Make these people be ready because we come for them if they run their mouth carelessly and do not tell this their agent provocateur, this chamber. Say make it stop that nonsense. We did come for them. That prison will be prepared for whistle. They will sweep that prison. We will space for that prison in Missouri. When they come back for them, they will go take that position inside that prison. If they play.
When you talk about this foundation, and the facts say the case, we win the case. This very fact, it don't establish, say, rightfully so, this interim government, they own that foundation. And when now the interim government it get that foundation, that means that the interim government it be legitimate. They talk say, oh, the case it never been up for determine whether now which interim government it be legitimate. Something they be implied. Some cases they be implied by the decisions where they take them, it be implied. Because you know the court don't talk say this interim government it gets right to keep the money. That is what it means. Sako they don't get any right for can't claim anything because the process where they use them for replace the members of the Ambassador Foundation, it will be fraudulent. It will be fraudulent. Like almost if we go against these people for fraud, and I will feel bad. I think the judge will be very lenient towards Victorine Young because if he lie right there in court, she was guilty of perjury. Right there in court, she could have forget herself in some deep trouble because you go lie, say that he be president, but under cross-examination, he never be the rightful person for claim for be the president. He lie in court.
He's struggling to mislead the judicial system.
Yes. So the judge will be very lenient and I support the point where they make and say these people they get for being very careful because if one come after them, many of them go there in deep trouble because the legal system it don't put the Ambassador Foundation squarely in the hands of this interim government. Sako did not get no other argument, nothing else for come close to that foundation, and whoever controls the foundation controls this government. Owns this government. That is what has been established. If we go to sing any kind of song for them, it don't make any sense. If they know say they get any facts for go contradict, may they go file and appeal. More see how it go. May they go file and appeal. So, Dr. Ngwambe, I won't forget your take on this.
So the thing I want to talk for back this matter and I say, my fellow Amazonian and them, this liberation struggle, it operate in a virtual space. You see place where I did California. My brother Tam Mike, Ide Pennsylvania. My brother Ngia Sama na for Belgium where they. Do you know what it mean for me for be able to reach Pennsylvania or for go Belgium? It not gonna be easy matter. You understand? No? So it not gonna be easy matter at all. It even for them for come meet up me, it not be any easy matter at all. So when you operate in that kind of virtual space, it be necessary for get rules, guidelines, bylaws, a constitution where it govern we. Because as we were there with no opportunity to go there where disagreement fee happen. And when that disagreement happen, no, we know they make up the rules for solve that matter for our head. We'll go back for that document for see say, what is this document where we will be agree for manage all we were they far away from each other. So what did that document they say? When I participate for when I Jangi group, like me, I participate from my local Manjong chapter. But other people, the way they participate for whether they're Lebi Alem chapter, their Bakweri chapter, or Manfe Manu Bayangi chapter, which is so when I get bylaws, when I get rules, where they talk say when some person where you don't pay dues, if that person die, now the amount of money this way you get done. Even when I want to start to play Mago on top of that thing, you all are going to spoil that meeting. And that is essentially what Dr. Sako and his people did. We became constitution and bylaws. Inside that constitution, it be referenced, say, the guiding principles of the Restoration Council will be found inside of the terms of reference for the Restoration Council. And the terms of reference for that Restoration Council, that guiding document, it talks, say, the Restoration Council has the authority to hold the president, the executive branch, accountable to make sure it is using money efficiently. It also talks, say, the Restoration Council get the authority for set the mandate of the president of the interim government.
So
plain black and white English. But people then they play that mago. They find like when they amongst them, they do the wrong thing. My people then look at it. This BR francophone may need some of the brother don't carry out from La Republic, bring them for abroad. I know they understand that. You really get you for a whole abroad. You see how these people they do. You understand even why did they go through elections? Why did they do peaceful transfer of power? Why did they get all these checks and balances? Then you really carry your big head. You talk saying now one man give for day until we reach Boya.
Until Boya. What than 50 years, that one man, because he get eternal life, he must be there to now more look for more narrow down to the case in particular. And we talk about the bylaws for the foundation. Where it will be the question where now the rope that way they use and catch Sako and the people. The one for the bylaws. Because Victorine, if you go for court, you go talk say now you be president. The answer say now you be president, he say yes. The answer say, okay, according to una bylaws, now who is supposed for get right for call a meeting? Victorine say he don't know anything say bylaws. Josh in mouth he open say how you go be president? You know even know say bylaws for the foundation he did. With him if you get the bylaws, they present them for court. So they say, but you know this, you know anything like this one? Victorine say no. They say how you know where you say be president. The bylaws in there when he the guide, they determine who is the call meeting, who is supposed to for attend a meeting, and so on. They give the powers, how it determine how the foundation it be run. Then they call as say, if you don't know say the bylaws they exist, then I wait you the use them how for run the foundation. It's time they look place like goat. You know if you answer them. You know if you get in the document. Because fellow Brazilians, these bylaws they did the same like constitution for country. You know we talk say I'll be president for country, but I don't know me say constitution it did. And when we talk country, we may talk like that because their own constitution they like now notebook for power. They judge whatever like they anytime. But the president for the foundation is supposed to know of the bylaws because now he is supposed to use them. So now they say they ask and say, all right, now you know that means say the meeting where we be getting now remember say there be whole meeting for choose the handful of members where they be go down for that fraudulent meeting where Sako be caller.
Yep.
Because the other question where they be asking and I say that meeting so where they will change the members, they will reshuffle the members for the committee where they control the foundation. Now who we call that meeting? Victorine Yami in lie. Now for the way if I do for trouble, in lie saying he be called the meeting. When I lie. But luckily with him, if we go with the minutes for that meeting, they look the minutes for that meeting, they see and say, now Sako will be called that meeting. And bad enough says Sako not even be a member of the foundation. So you know get right for call that meeting. Sako not be a member of the foundation. So Sako they call meeting for foundation for replace people in the highway, you know even be a member of the foundation. Now for them their case is completely unraveled for their face. Judge said and say, when I don't carry the load way past me. He said this thing, you know, this case don't get no merit. It dismissed the whole thing. So with the wait make Sako then go back again, go talk say they get whether a new bylaws or wait again for explain themselves. Honorable Samba Thomas, I will just want to lay the premise for how the case it will be tried and how it will be unraveled for the Sako people there front. First of all, they will go, they no say bylaws in there, and then they lie about the person where we call meeting. Victorine said I be call meeting where he yourself enter and fraudulently. Sako be call meeting where you know get right for call meeting, you know even supposed to attend meeting for foundation. But now he be scared of the meeting. Now for they catch them. So make ambassadors they here. Now for the way they catch them, they come on now can begin to make noise for out here. So I want me just given this reality and the fact say this interim government it don't be vindicated because for so long they say oh they make noise out they say oh plotters them go lock now like we talk. They be very vindictive, and if Sako be get the means for make sure say those comrades where their names will be named under this case, say they will get the means for do something with them. Sako for make sure say they go jail. Now which would always Sako be one for one. Very vindictive person. So wait till you check him this interim government is supposed to do him now, Mr. Thomas. Wait till we supposed to do him.
We don't we don't give peace a chance. So make peace reign. That peace will reign now. Now only when we set out the properties of this interim government or Ambazonian Foundation, where ABC now part of that property, and any money where Sako it don't raise them after it be impeached. I always say now he be appointed himself for being president of Southern Cameroons. Any money we don't raise them after it be impeached, they will take them for ye. Then secondly, we go one Sako say if he want create some NGO, when a Sako NGO, make it create them, it do whatever thing it do with them, but may not do them in the name of say it be leader and president for the Southern Cameroons. If it do such things again, and if support the fact say make the arrest Sako for usurpation of power and infringement into things he's not supposed to delve into, make it go for prison. Because like I told him, some people must go prison for this struggle now. And people supposed to me man go prison for this struggle. But as Sako immediate attempt for send some people for prison, it go for prison. They must put an injunction for Sako in. So may stop any fraudulent activity where they come out in the name of the Southern Cameroon struggle, because you don't get no legal standing for carry out such activities. It's been taken out and must respect the decision of the people of the Southern Cameroons. Though if you talk say if it be a revolution, it be a dictator, then it will be a revolution. But now we the people we choose to make it be a democratic revolution and not a dictatorial one. As it not be a respecter of law, but it is stay for a society where laws and for they and they respect them, it get for respect the verdict when it come out for that court when nicer take you go to for them. If not, will they come back for you?
Yeah, I think you get a point there, Mr. Thomas, because one thing where it causes confusion for this struggle now, when you see all this thing about, oh, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever number of IGs. I think this case is go for put to not all those arguments about multiple IGs. Any person where they still go, and this interim government is supposed to put an injunction against Sako especially, and bar them from the use of any name to do to anything similar to the interim government. I think this case now, it don't give you a foundation for really go after them for impersonation, fraud. They subvert the name and the image of the interim government. They use them negatively. So we need to go after the information. Say this nonsense is stopped, as well as we go after the assets of this interim government where they don't carry on. They use them for negative propaganda. And again, I don't know how would I feel, but what would I think about Uchiba does in lamentations out there? When I don't hear how the man is it quack like some chicken where a mommy don't come on leave it. You know those type of go. The same mommy where if you check say the shelter they say go after the mommy there. We hear how they complain about Arengwa and others. Call I am say I am not devil. But that will tell them about this thing. They don't agree. The same accusations. Where Comrade Chris, we talk, say this woman, it is just it want to be everywhere at the same time. They be denied. That time, I didn't go to recruit Uchebana for that same purpose, for sending me to go to tarnish people their image. When they want to bring you down, they go send Ochiba Nelson, it starts spread conspiracies about you. Now that the same Ochiba Nelson don't start crying for how they like small picking fire for under rain. What do you make about this behavior, Dr. Gwabe?
So, bro, the sad thing where he did it, I say, Uchipa get himself to blame, because when some of we be the push say, not I say we not be like with Dr. Sako. The thing where we be wanting, I say, may we get an electoral process for people where in their diaspora, where we there in peace. We know they run from one bush to the next bush or anything, so we're in peace here in the diaspora. We feel get an election where we feel hold our leader accountable, where if he know they perform or he underperform, we feel remove he may go to do other thing still within the liberation struggle, but then we bring in a new team. But guess what? They didn't understand that. They enabled this guy, Dr. Sako, to engage in a power grab. Now they're stuck with him. And anyone who criticizes him, they will use their propaganda machine to go after that person. So Uchiba better watch out, because the monster where he be help for creating, he go choppy.
They go come
and then you know him go get place to put the head. Where if people don't understand, say, look, with the nature of systems, when you don't leave people in where they feel say, nah, that thing not, and only them feed there for they know, some point go reach where when you talk, they know they hear from you. But guess what? When you give an opportunity for them to go through an election, a confidence vote or something, they will be accountable to you. It'll be easier for them to listen to you. Right now, Uchiba, you don't have that. In the system that you are working in, you do not have that. You're in deep shit. And it's unfortunate because we tried to fix it. But you all came up with stupid names, coup plotters, drawing funny pictures of people, all kind of useless nonsense. And then you even violated the rules that we all had agreed to work under.
Yeah, you see about Uchiba again, it don't render itself. That is, Uchiba never talk for some place, some person listen, take it seriously anymore. So it don't put itself for some tight corner. It don't allow itself to be used by people where they get evil motives. But I think it will know all along, because I think these facts will not be hidden for Uchiba. They will use it as a hit man. That was his job. His job was to hit on anyone who posed any possibility of challenging Sako. And the thing we talk here, Dr. Ngombe, if Sako had stood for elections when they were called for, he would have won. Sako would have won if he were willing to just submit himself to elections at the time. But in the course of him trying to cover up things, to avoid standing for election, people became aware of things that they did not know before. They saw in him someone that they did not know before. And it exposed him for who he has come to be. Had it been he was willing to just respect the Constitution and go in for elections, he would have still been the leader up to now. But he's, by being intransigent and trying to falsify our Constitution and the electoral process, he exposed himself for the fraud that he really is. And he can only have himself and his surrogates like Aringwa, John So, who were giving him advice, the same John So who advised him to take this case to court. But when it came time for them to be there in court, giving advice to their witnesses, they were all absent. There was none of them. There was no Mbesa there. There was no John So, and John So lives in the Maryland area. Why was he not in court? The Ghanas and so on, they say they have so many barristers, but we only see their own barristers on social media and on TV. When it comes time to appear in court and show how much law you know, they run and hide under tables. So that is what they brought on themselves. That's a mess they brought on themselves. They can only have themselves to blame. But it has established in the minds of all Ambazonians, which is the legitimate interim government in charge of the people. So, Honorable Samuel Thomas, your final words on this topic before we move on.
Maybe I'll go for this. But I know, say about 4 years ago, I've been nicknamed Nelson Ochiba Bad News. And I've been telling we all say, this bad news, Nelson Ochiba, it will bring down this struggle. No man knows in that day.
No, Mrs. I will call it out there. Mrs. I will call it out, especially that way I really vex with this man. Now, when it be just continue incessantly, every day now, Sisikwe, Abdul Karim, I say, what is wrong with you? Can't you focus on like the Cameroon? What this Sisikwe there for prison? Nothing this man may rest, but Ochiba no could leave him. Ochiba will not stop. He will not stop, because the point that had been given to him is destroy these people who have the potential of challenging. You are all God-ordained leader, Sako. Anyone who poses their head, strike it down. That's the assignment that was given him.
No, nobody got the potential to challenge Sako. Abdul Karim was never challenging Sako. Sako was never challenging Sako.
No, they don't have. See, they don't have to wait for you to challenge them. When they see that you have the potential, they want to destroy you before you even come close. Yes, they want to bring you down before you even get there. Continue.
That was a mistake they made. But the question is, like I used to quote, that there was a guy in Nigeria who sang a very good gospel song for the Catholic Church. That song was banned. That in that song he invited Satan, though he was condemning Satan, but he called Satan in that song more than calling God or Jesus. So the song was banned. That he was just inviting evil. And that was exactly what Nelson Ochiba was doing. And I called him up and said, Nelson, all these things that you are doing, my friend, be very, very careful with. If we've buried something, we've condemned something yesterday, let it be there. We should move forward. For doing what you are doing now, you are doing no good to this story, you are but destroying now. Please pipe down. He didn't listen. I asked, can you imagine, like I asked, what is so peculiar about what Nelson has said today that Sako is now calling Nelson out? I told Sako that please call Nelson behind the scene and tell him to stop those audios that he is putting out condemning Abdul Karim and every other person. If you call him from behind and he does not listen, come out publicly that you are not doing it on my behalf. For you might think that you are doing it on my behalf, but you're destroying me. Sako never did. So today, why has Sako chosen to come out to condemn what Nelson is doing, that Nelson is not doing it on his behalf? What is so peculiar about Sako and Irinwa that Sako will prefer Iringwa over this struggle. We need to find out what is the relationship between Iringwa and Sako, that he cannot discipline Irene. He rather discipline the struggle, to hell with the struggle, but allow me with my Irene, the Caesars. With that said and done, Southern Cameroonians should beware of Nelson Ochiba. There is one other fellow who goes by the name Angel Mike. This fellow is subjective voice. Everything you get from these people, delete it. They are poisonous to this struggle. These are very destructive elements in this struggle. They are not out of the liberation of Southern Cameroons, but they are out to destroy the struggle for Boya. They might be doing it consciously or unconsciously, but I don't think they are unconscious of what they are doing, but they know exactly what they are doing, that what they are doing is anti-revolutionary. We cannot use them to reach Boya, so let them damage everything and let us be where we are. I cannot go to say they are enablers, but what they are doing, they are enabling La Republique to keep on with her lion foot on top of our toes. But their time has come. The wind has passed, and like we talk, say for Nyash, it don't open, all man is here. So it now depends on which way each Southern Cameroonian, it will determine them over this case now, who it will choose for go with. We know say when Judas, if you go say Jesus with the 30 silvers, it will get time for repent, if you go commit the suicide. But the people where they will give Judas 30 cents, they will continue with the line for Judas, then they will repent. So too, a lot of people they will Sako, they no go repent. But you where you follow them ignorantly, please, the room is widely open. We will welcome all of you back to the mainstream of the IG, of the people of Southern Cameroons.
Yeah. I beg, I feel add some one thing.
Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
You know, there's one thing that there's several lessons learned that Ambazonians should be able to take away from this thing, and that is follow the rules. When you have an organization and there is a leadership struggle in that organization, follow the rules of that leadership struggle and avoid this thing of leadership worship, right? And you also have to have a system in place where you can peacefully alternate your leaders inside your organization, so you can bring new people in. Because I want to give, you know, when we hear some of the people who are criticizing every day, oh, there are multiple IGs, oh, the IG of Dr. Sako, Comrade Chris, Mayanta, look at them, they're fighting this, they're fighting that. And then in particular, when you see the people who are talking the most are people who are supposed to belong to our Comrade Sako Ayuktabe's movement, or Dabni Yerima's movement. You know, those followers of their movements, they are also frustrated with them. But guess what? Since they cannot change their leaders, guess what happens to them? They end up falling on the side, and they're the ones outside who are out there making a lot of causing a lot of stress about groups, criticizing groups left and right. And why are they criticizing groups left and right? Because they became frustrated with Comrade Yerima and with Comrade Sako Ayuktabe. I understand that he's in jail and he's paying an ultimate price. I have a lot of respect for him for that. But still, when you are not able to change the leader of your organization through peaceful means, they will reach a point when that leadership is doing things that is frustrating you, and it seems as if they're not listening to you. You're going to get frustrated and you're going to leave that organization. And if you're not careful, you may even leave the liberation struggle because you don't know where to go. So that is something that those are some of the lessons that Ambazonians need to be learning from this thing that we of the IG went through with these leaders who chose to do constitutional coups, and then people stood up to them and stood by the rules and stood by democratic principles. My fellow Ambazonians, if you want a country that is going to be different from La République du Cameroun, if you do not want to change a French-speaking dictatorship and give us an English-speaking dictatorship, you better set up systems that are rules-based, and you better respect the rules of that system and allow for alternation of power in that system you set up to govern this liberation struggle. If you do not do that, you're setting us all up for failure, plain and simple.
Yes. Yep.
Thank
you. You're very right. You're very right, Joseph Gombe. And to come back to the question that Abusama Thomas asked about why Sako has chosen to come out now. Well, the reason he has come out is because the untouchable has been touched. You can talk about anyone in this struggle. You can do anything to anyone. Sako will not care. But once you touch Arengwa, Sako will say something. Because that is to him, that is his golden egg. I mean, his golden chicken. I keep laying the egg for him to eat. So he doesn't want anything to go with that. So he will protect that at all costs because the guy is in this thing for the money. Don't be confused about what Sako's intentions are in this struggle. He's there for the money. He's there because his life has changed from what it was before he came into this struggle. He now puts on decent clothes, lives in a decent house. He looks at his bank account and he sees money there, something he's never experienced. He doesn't have to go out and pretend to be John Dinga or Charles from Togo anymore. He doesn't have to engage in all those schemes with women anymore. He can now sit on TV and act president and have people send him money, and he's living a good life. So that is the reason, and he doesn't want to let that go. And lucky for him, up to now, maybe a lot more people will start dropping out now that things are becoming clearer. Up to now, he has been very lucky that he still has some very gullible people willing to take their hard-earned money and put it in his hands. How sad. But that is where we are. But we will not want to belabor the point too much. The message has been given. Anyone who has eyes should have seen already. Anyone who has ears should have heard already. If you are still allowing yourself to drink Sako's Kool-Aid, the fault is all yours. You can have no one else to blame but yourself. And Thomas, you mentioned somebody there, Angel Mike, and I laughed because that guy, I think it's someone who has serious mental issues. That guy is not normal. When you read the things he writes, it sounds all crazy, like someone who's just escaped from a mental institution. That guy is not normal at all. So, Angel Mike, I don't think anyone who likes his mental sanity would want to listen to him. No, he's all toxic, very toxic. So when you hear a guy call himself Angel Mike, run for your life. Let's move on to the next topic of discussion today, which is our Independence Day. Our Independence Day, we have tended to leave the celebration of our Independence Day to ground zero. I think that is wrong. That is wrong. This year we are changing it, and we are calling on everybody, wherever you are, start making your preparations, whether it be demonstrations, whether it be speech making, whatever it is, you have to come out and manifest your patriotism for Ambazonia. That's what I wanted to say. You manifest your patriotism for Ambazonia by coming out in your colors, making sure you document everything that you are doing, and you send those pictures in, and we will broadcast them so the whole world can see that Ambazonia is actually celebrating its independence. You have to make it conspicuous. Make it conspicuous. Let people see it. Because seeing is believing, as they say. Seeing is believing. When people don't see it, they don't believe it. You have to make people see it so they can believe it. So I would like for us to brainstorm here. What activities do we think people need to engage in come October 1st to celebrate our independence? Mr. Thomas, you go first. What do you think those of us out here should be doing in celebration of October 1st?
What I think we can do is to like organize. Now that it's summer, we can organize some barbecue. If we cannot organize demonstrations, because what really kills our activities in the West is the so-called coronavirus pandemic that put a ban on just every public demonstrations or gathering. But I think that is over, and we can now go back to our old system of doing things by demonstrating on the 1st of October. If not, we organize a barbecue to raise funds to support our refugees back home and our boys, if we can, wherever we find ourselves.
Yes, I think you are very right. Whatever activity that we are engaged in on that day, it will be important that we add an element of some kind of fundraising, be it just voluntary. No, you don't have to go tasking people, but just by you out there celebrating our independence, the joy of having your colors and everything, you can even get it from your neighbors, from your community. They may ask you, what is going on here? What are you celebrating? You do something that will cause people to chip in something. You can even maybe make something to say, or so, anything, but do it in your amber colors. Celebrate it and put your funds together, so we channel those funds to assist our prisoners, our refugees, and why not our ARIFs? What's wrong with that? So we channel these resources to them and to help support them. So I think that is a very good point you made there, Dr. Mwambe.
You know, I agree 100% with Comrade Sama Thomas, and I really want to thank even Comrade Chris yesterday for even bringing this particular idea up. You know, let me say, encouraging this idea during his show yesterday. One of the things that I think to add on or to build on to what Gyasama said, yes, definitely do the barbecues. If you have your blue and white, wear it. If you have a t-shirt that has Ambazonian flag, wear it. If you have an Ambazonian flag, bring it. In addition to doing that, irrespective of what Ambazonian, pro-independence minded Ambazonian organization you belong to, reach out to your fellow comrade who lives in the same city as you, and you all organize something together. Get together at each other's houses and invite the community there. And I would even encourage you all that as you're inviting people there, maybe you prepare an envelope containing a letter addressed to, I don't know, maybe the mayor, the MP, the congresswoman or congressman, et cetera, and have those envelopes pre-stamped and addressed. And you give it to each person that attends and say, hey, as you're going home, just put your return address on this thing, and then you drop that thing inside the mailbox, and it be sent to the local political representative of the country you're living in. So that way, not only are you enjoying the Independence Day, you are actually engaging in some type of activism to help get the awareness of this particular issue going up. And even a march, you could even do a little get-together march before the barbecue. If there's an Alliance Française inside the community that you live in, go march there and protest against Francafrique in front of that Alliance Française, and even deposit some of those letters there talking about the mischief that France is doing, and tell France to get its hands off Africa in particular, and deposit that information there. Maybe if there's an embassy of a country that you think should be supporting Ambazonia, march and go to that embassy and tell the people at the embassy how much you appreciate them, you respect their own struggle, and give them something, an ask. Give them a document that has a unique ask for Ambazonia. You all know that most of these liberation struggles end up with an internationally supervised referendum for the people, right? That should be part of your ask, because that's the way a majority, if not 100% of these situations end up, especially when the state that you are gaining independence from, it still exists. You're going to end up in a referendum. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. So those are some of the things that our people can do in addition to enjoying themselves, but also engaging in some social activism that may also have an influence in determining the outcome of this struggle.
Absolutely. Whatever you do, coming out in your colors in public, and documenting with pictures. I think Comrade Chris said yesterday that when you are documenting, your celebrations with pictures, that you hold the camera in landscape, right? This way. You take your pictures this way, not vertically, this way. So that the pictures, when you send them in for broadcast, we'll be able to do it better. So you hold your camera this way when you are taking pictures. That's how you hold it. Don't hold it vertically. It will not be good. Hold it in landscape format so that your broadcast, take your pictures, document them, send them into the studio, and your images will be sent out there so the whole world can see you celebrating our independence. It's very, very important. We cannot overemphasize this. And some other things that we can do on that day too, maybe music. Why not? Those of us who can play music, even if it's your traditional dance, you have to come out and stage it out there. And it sometimes it draws a lot of attention to from your neighbors and so on. You come out with your music, your dance, traditional, whatever, putting on your amber colors and celebrate our Independence Day. And again, as I said, dance, whatever it is, poems that can be dedicated to our struggle. If you have a sketch, like a small sketch, to show all the brutality that La Republic is committing against us. And don't forget to get some pictures on placards showing everything that's happening to the world. Whole placards with all the messages, with all the pictures of the atrocities that La Republic has committed against us. Make all those preparations, come out with all that information. Let us project it to the rest of the world so they can see exactly what we are going through. Because let me tell you, there are still a lot of people out there who don't even know there's a war in the southern Comoros. They don't know it. And that is an opportunity for us to shine a light on it, to inform the world of what our people are going through. So please, start your preparations now. Don't wait till the last minute. Start your preparations now towards 1st of October. Let's make it big. Let us make it big. Come out in our colors and make Amazonia proud. If we don't do it, then who is supposed to do it? Who is supposed to do it if we don't do it? So it's an opportunity for us to come out October 1st and celebrate our Independence Day. You know, when you internalize it, it becomes a reality, and as you live it, it becomes undeniable. So let us make sure we make this a reality, and we will continue to talk about this in our subsequent programs, and we will continue to repeat and remind you. And please, if you have any other suggestions, those of you watching, if you want to leave a comment as to what you think should be done, how it should be done, please let us know, and we will read it here so everyone can get that information too. Maybe some of you watching right now, you may have better ideas than what we are saying here. Please share with us so we can announce so everybody can hear. So we will continue with the program, and one other thing that I don't know, Dr. Mwambe and Honorable Sama Thomas, did you have anything more to say about this before we transition?
Well, the only thing I can say is that to Southern Cameroonians in the West, the various countries that we find ourselves there, we should struggle to organize ourselves. Like, I will get up as from tomorrow, I'll be calling our brothers and sisters here for us to brainstorm and see exactly what we can do comes the 1st of October. If we cannot do it publicly, I think I have a space that can take at least 50 persons, so we can do it in my house. Everybody
Excellent.
is invited. If not publicly, you guys are invited into my house.
Excellent.
That's the way to go. That's the way to go. You start organizing, thinking ahead where you are going to meet, and arranging all those things, and just let people come together. We have not done this as much as it should be done, but I think this is a new beginning. From here now onward, we have to come out each year and celebrate our independence. Nobody can take it from us. We must never allow this to be taken from us again. We have sacrificed a lot to get where we are. We cannot allow it to go to go in vain. So please start your preparations now. Start your preparations now. Dr. Mugambe, were you trying to say something?
Oh no, I agree with what everyone is suggesting, and I thank our brother Nyasama for opening up his home, to that. Let's see what we together as Ambazonians can do in the diaspora to celebrate our Independence Day. That's an excellent move.
Absolutely. And by the way, this is meant to prove to Ground Zero that we are standing with them. We are standing with them. We are not leaving it up to them to do it by themselves. We are standing with them all the way. So it's supposed to at least give them a moral boost to let them understand that the diaspora is very much in it. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to add, I meant to add, is that October 1st is on a Sunday this year, so we could actually really do something really nice. It's on a Sunday.
Imagine that. How nice that would be, just to take that weekend and make Ambazonia proud. I think that would be great. That would be great. All right. I have this announcement here. We have to remember that on Thursday, the APP will be holding, the APP meeting will be holding, and all are invited to attend and get updates on the state of the struggle. There are a lot of things happening. People may think there's a lot happening that you are not aware of. So attend the APP on Thursday, this Thursday, after tomorrow. Today is Tuesday, so after tomorrow, attend the APP and get some more updates on the state of the struggle. And also there is also some movement towards bringing Ambazonians. So we have an all AMBA conference, and there is this consultative work that is being done by a group of comrades that are selected from most of the movements within our struggle. And this consultative work is going into various communities and talking to people and asking their opinion as to what they think an all AMBA conference ought to look like and what should be the outcome of such a meeting. And the first of such consultative meetings held in Maryland this past weekend, and was very much attended, and the discussions were very exciting, and those who attended were very appreciative of the initiative, mostly based on the fact that previously people have tended to be talked down to, that people just, like the leaders, simply told people what they were supposed to do. But this initiative is listening to the people, asking the people, how do you think we can do this? How should this be done? Should we do it this way? Should we do it here? Or where should the conference be held? When should it hold? And what should be the outcome of such a conference? So the initiative that is being undertaken now is very much appreciated by those who took part in the consultative meeting. The good thing is that it's not just one consultative meeting that has been held or will be held. There are other consultative meetings that will be held in other areas, be in Europe, wherever Ambazonians are gathered and they want this team to come and talk to them. This team will come and talk to them. So that at the end of these consultative meetings, we now have a good idea of where Ambazonians, or what Ambazonians expect from an all AMBA conference. And then one will be scheduled where we can all come together and chart our way forward. That is the ultimate goal. And this idea came from some international experts who have been looking at the way we have been doing things, and they indicated to us that we have not been doing things the right way, because we have been preaching to people instead of listening to people. And they said, if you want to succeed, go around and listen to people. Hear what they have to say. Get the opinion of the people. Get their buy-in into what you're trying to do. Then when you do that and you hold a conference, the people who gave you those ideas will be more inclined to attend. And that is the path that we are taking. And in the days ahead, I'll have a panel right here on ABS TV that will shine a light on the activities of this consultative team, and you all get it from them, what they have been doing, where they want to take the Ambazonian struggle, or what kind of structure may be created to lead us to freedom. So stay tuned in the days ahead. You will be duly informed of when these meetings will be held and when they will appear here to give you more information on this initiative. It's very promising, I tell you. Those who attended the last one were very, very excited. There were some very interesting exercises that were carried out to show how you go about setting something like that, getting information from the people, and making sure that the decisions that are taken are truly reflective of the will and aspirations of the people. A people-centered approach, if I may call it that. A people-centered approach. That's the way to do it from now on. So I thank you all. Dr. Ngwambe and Mr. Thomas, I would like to give you the chance to make your final statements. I know, Dr. Ngwambe, you are in charge of the APP. If you have something more to add to that, you will make it then. But let me give the spot now to Mr. Thomas to make his closing statements, and we'll call it a day. And after that, it will be you, Dr. Ngwambe.
Well, what can I say? We have some Southern Cameroonians that have been self-defeated, and all they do now is to sit and criticize those that are doing something. But let me not go their way. I am inviting these people who have been self-defeated, that if you allow yourself to be self-defeated today, tomorrow you will still come back to where we are today. So what is the point? Leaving the struggle and concentrate on criticizing those that are still doing something. You should know, those that are criticizing people who are doing something should know that you can only criticize someone who is doing something, but you cannot criticize someone who is doing absolutely nothing. So join us. Your opinion counts. Come to the house. Do nothing that you do. Whenever you hear there is a town hall meeting that is talking about the Southern Cameroon struggle, whenever you hear there is a conference that is talking about the Southern Cameroon struggle, if it's a virtual conference and you can attend it virtually, do. If you can attend it physically, do just that and share your own opinion with other Southern Cameroonians. Don't be the master criticizer of which you can also contribute something. You are criticizing others, that who now should criticize you. Come and be criticized as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I think you make a valid point there, because sometimes people just criticize a lot, but when you call them to come in and give their own opinions on how they think things should be done, then they run away. If you are running away and you're not putting your own ideas on the table, how do you expect people to be inspired, to have that the discernment to do the right thing? You have to be at the table. If you give your ideas and they are rejected, then you can complain. But if you are not even there, then you can't turn around and criticize others who are doing their own best. Dr. Ngwambe?
Yeah, Tamak and Ngyasa Mamuma them. You know, I really want to thank you, Tamak, for inviting me onto your program today. And I also want to thank Honorable Sama Thomas, you know, for coming for all of us to talk. And a big thanks to the ABS TV production team for hosting this program and giving us an opportunity to spread our message to the Ambazonian people. My fellow Ambazonians, this Thursday is the Amba Peace Plan. As you all heard Comrade Chris say yesterday, we'll be opening the doors early at 7 p.m. Amba time, because we know we get this thing they call, what did they call it? Say now colored people's time now. That's what they called it back in the day. Now black people's time. Normally it was supposed to start at 8 o'clock, but it seems as if it's a good idea to start at 7 p.m. because we know how we did. So please join us tomorrow at doors opening 7 p.m. Amba time. I mean, this is an opportunity for us to come together, talk, share ideas, and plan. You know, we have to come together and talk and listen to each other. That was the nice thing about this weekend's consultation meeting. It gave us an opportunity to talk with people who are not even part of our organization.
Yes.
I mean, it was wonderful. Yes, very wonderful.
It was wonderful.
And finally, my fellow Ambazonians, this has been a very interesting week. And you know what I learned this week? Well, actually, I already knew this, but I'm hoping that all of you learned this week. Rules do matter. Laws do matter. Having a bylaws, having a constitution for your organization, it does matter because it will save you. You know how they say the truth will save you now. The bylaws save the Ambazonian people this week. That is the biggest lesson learned that all of you should incorporate and adopt. So, my fellow Ambazonians, God bless you until we meet again. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Mwambe. Thank you, Ambassador Thomas. I should be thanking you for accepting the invitation to be here with me on the set of the War Zone. I cannot come here and discuss with myself, so I always need a brother or sister to exchange with. So I'm always happy when you are willing to accept that invitation. So please don't change, stay positive, keep doing it for Ambazonia.
Thank you for having me.
So I really appreciate it. So fellow Ambazonians, here we are at the end of another episode of the War Zone. I have always said that when you hear of the War Zone, it's not a war of weapons, it's a war of ideas. We come here to exchange ideas to see how Ambazonia and Africa, and why not the world at large, could be made just a little better, so that some child, a child who has no godfather, who has nobody in a privileged position to hold his or her hand, can also hope that one day they could rise up, grow up, and achieve their own God-given talents, given the opportunities that will be available in that environment. Unfortunately, at this given moment, our homeland is not there yet, and that is why we are in this struggle to make sure that every child that is born in Ambazonia has the potential to grow up and live his or her own God-given potential. That is all we are here for. Some of us are here not because we want or we need to gain anything from it. On the contrary, we are sacrificing a lot every day for this struggle, not because we're hoping to go and get a job in Ambazonia. No, we have everything we need right here where we are. But when you see the images, when you saw the image of that driver buried in mud on Wumb Road, who had given up beside his investment, his vehicle that was buried in mud, and you saw the look of disappointment, hopelessness, and if that doesn't touch you, then I don't know what will. When you see a child who gets up in the morning and is going to school and gets her head blown to pieces by some crooked gendarme because the mother failed to give 500 francs as bribe. Is that child's life worth 500 francs? 500 francs? For 500 francs, you have to shoot a child's head and kill that child, not knowing what that child would have been if that child were allowed to grow up into adulthood. These are the things that drive us to continue marching on to freedom. And I hope you too will be motivated to stay in there. Even for those who, for one reason or the other, have been tempted to give up. Our ARS on the ground, our citizens on the ground, those out here in the diaspora, when you look at this situation, are you hoping that things will turn positive tomorrow with the same people in charge? The same people in charge? Without any willingness to give even an inch, just an inch, nothing has been given. Even their own special status, nothing has been implemented. Nothing has changed. So when you think of giving up, you are giving up in exchange for what? So I'm calling on you, fellow Ambazonians, to feed from this movement that is coming from the African Sahel. Let us allow this wind of change to get to us. Let us ride it to victory. Let us ride it to freedom. It is our moment, and God put us here on earth at this moment for a reason, to actualize the freedom of the Ambazonian people. And I'm calling on you to stand firm and make sure that it becomes a reality. We have talked about quite a few things. We have talked about Dr. Arikana, who is coming out to be one of the heroes that Africa will live to remember by her inspiring leadership and willingness to challenge evil when it ought to be challenged. Let us follow her example and make sure that Africa is forever freed from colonial domination. And to those of us who have listened to the show today, let us prepare to celebrate our independence. Start getting your flags, your attires, whatever you need. Start making your plans now. Let us make it big. Let's make it big, that everywhere on TV should be blue and white. Let's make it big. Let's make Ambazonia proud. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hold you again. The show is coming to an end. The APP again is on Thursday, 7 p.m. Amba time. Come one, come all. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say, take good care of yourselves and each other. And with that, the war zone is out.